Hey guys, this is Dave with Giz Audio. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. So what we're going to be doing is taking a look at 6, maybe 7 different USB DACs and try to determine a few things. We're going to look at primarily try to determine how these might work best for you, which one might work best for you given your use. We'll also talk about value and performance. But again, primarily, I don't want you to think of this so much as a DAC shootout. However, I will probably do a little bit of ranking at the end. I'm even going to throw a wild card in at the end, but I want you to think of this again more of a use case type video. Which one will work best for you? And maybe see what, even if you're on a budget, try to determine which one might work best for you depending on what kind of budget you're on. As far as the budget range, everything on this table is over $100. The least expensive one that we have here is the Shanling UA3. That one comes in at $109. The most expensive one that we have on the table is the Shanling UA5. So that's about that's $235. So that's the budget range that we're going to be talking about here. This is the Shanling UA5. We've got the Moondrop Moon River 2, the Hibi FC5, Shanling UA3, which is the baby brother of the UA5. We have the Muse M3, which is newer to the market. And then finally, we have the very popular Heidi S9 Pro. And as you can see, not all of these have the exact same features. For example, the S9 Pro doesn't have any volume control, but the rest of them do. As a matter of fact, the Shanling here has even has playback control. The UA5 has a built-in battery. This is the only one of these 6 that has a built-in battery. And it has a little bit of a different type of volume control, and you add a screen. So the features may vary slightly, but the overall style is the same. Again, these all connect with a USB cable and generally are optimized to work as a mobile or portable device. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over each device. I'm going to talk about some pros and cons of each device, and then we'll talk about use case. So we'll talk about how well it might work for you. We'll talk about the UA5 first. So the UA5, so again, the Shanling UA5 comes in at $235. So this is the most expensive of the 6 devices. As far as pros, the sound is really good. It has a very natural sound, a neutral warm signature, which is my preferred signature. It has a built-in battery with hybrid mode, so it doesn't drain the source very much at all. As a matter of fact, when I have this device connected to my phone, I get very, very little battery drain. Now, as far as other features, it does have this 3.5 output, actually is a SPDIF output as well. It supports up to 32 bits and DSD512, so that's pretty cool. Has an output power of 137 milliwatts at 32 ohms out of the single-ended, 211 milliwatts at 32 ohms out of the balanced, that's a pretty good amount of power, and an added level of control using the Edict player. So you can use the Edict player app, and that gives you a little more control over basically the same controls that you have using the onboard screen here. And the volume you can actually like gain and that kind of stuff. You can control that with the Edict player app as well. Again, it does have this display, so that's cool. And the build quality of the UA5 is excellent. As far as cons, it is the most expensive of the 6. Again, it's $235. But again, it is the only device with a battery and the display. Now, another thing to consider about this as far as cons is it's large. So if you're going to be using this as a portable device, if you have a lot of stuff in your pockets, this does take up a little more space than, let's say, the S9 Pro. Now, as far as whether or not this will work for you, this is a very versatile device. So if you do have IEMs and headphones, this does have obviously enough power to power any IEM and enough power to power most full-size headphones. I have the Sivga UA3, which is kind of a hard to drive headphone. It is a 300 ohm headphone, but it does have a sensitivity of 105 dBs, and this powers that pretty well. Also, if you have a laptop or a phone, this will work with either of those. So this will work as a portable device, and it will also work with a laptop if you're doing any kind of home listening. The only thing, again, to take into consideration is the size. Okay, all right, let's move on to the Moondrop Moon River 2. Now, the Moon River 2 comes in at $189, so it is the second most expensive device on the table. But I think that cost might be justified. I'm going to tell you why. Let's go over the pros really quickly. This does have a neutral sound signature, so whatever the sound signature of your IEMs or headphone is, this will allow those to basically maintain their sound signature, so that's kind of cool. This also has a ton of power output, has 2 volts RMS from the 3.5 and 4 volts RMS from the 4.4. In terms of milliwatts from the 4.4, what that comes out to is about 270 milliwatts at 32 ohms. Now, and here are the impressive specifications. This has a total harmonic distortion of 0.00015%, which is pretty cool. Has a dynamic range of 131 dBs and a signal to noise ratio of 116 dBs. So this has a very black background. This is not going to make any noise at all with a sensitive IEM. Also, it supports 32 bits and DSD512. Does not cause excessive battery drain. This is a very efficient device as far as its power consumption. I didn't notice any kind of excessive battery drain from my S21 Ultra or iPhone. So it's very, very portable. It's very small. As you can see, it's very light and does not take a whole lot of space up in your pocket. And also, you can control the Moon River 2 with the Moondrop Link app. So that just gives you, again, another added level of control. You can change the gain settings, and you can also gives you some filter options and some other stuff. So that's all of the pros. As far as the cons, there's not much. Really, the only con I could find to this is, again, it's a little on the expensive side at $189. Aside from that, there were no cons that I could find, at least not to me. So as far as usability and whether or not this will work for you, again, this is a very versatile device because it will work with both full-size headphones, most full-size headphones and IEMs. It'll work as a portable device. You can also use this at home with your laptop. So again, it's versatile in that way. And one thing to keep in mind, this does actually have slightly better, it already has good performance when connected to a phone, but even better performance when connected to a laptop. And I would say that I noticed the biggest difference with full-size headphones, not really with IEMs. Now, moving on to the Hibi FC5. The Hibi FC5 comes in at $159. As far as pros, actually this is a very, very good sounding USB DAC. It has a very engaging sound, has good dynamics, does have a little more of a, I would say it's natural sounding, so more of a musical presentation. So it is quite different in that regard from the other DACs on this table. It has a very quiet background, so if you are using any kind of sensitive IEMs or headphones, you're not going to hear any hiss at all. This has a very black background. Now, as far as cons, it's not, I would say it's not competitively priced. I wish they would have come down in price just a little bit because it's basically just a no frills, very basic USB DAC. It does have a volume control, but it only has a 4.4 output. And I know they give you the adapter, but it's like then you have 2 cables sticking out, one on either side. So I just wish they would have included a 3.5 along with the 4.4 output. Another thing is the power output of this device isn't a lot. It's good enough to power any IEM. It has 125 milliwatts of power output at 32 ohms. Again, so that will power IEMs, but it may struggle a little bit with harder to drive headphones. I did notice that with my Sivga SVO23s, it was enough to drive them, but it was pushing it almost to the limit as far as my volume level. As far as use case, this isn't going to be a device that's as versatile as, say, the Moondrop 2 or the UA5, but it is if you're okay with, if all you have is primarily IEMs, again, this will work perfectly fine with IEMs. It will work with a laptop or with your phone. So if you do want to use it as a portable device, it is pretty small, so it won't take up a lot of space in your pocket. It's built really well. So as far as build quality, it's again built very well. So I would say it's still pretty versatile, but not the most versatile device on the table. All right, let's move on to the Hibi UA3. Now, the Hibi UA3 comes at $109, and it's the baby brother to the UA5. As far as pros, it has a neutral, warm presentation, which that is my preferred sound signature. It's priced very competitively, again, at $109. It's the least expensive device on this table. It uses the new AKM AK4493 SEQ, which of course the AKM factory had that horrible fire. It burnt down, but they've since rebuilt, and this is one of the new DACs that they're producing out of the new factory. The UA3 also uses the same amp chip as the UA5, and that's the Rycore RT6863, so that's pretty cool. Like the UA5, you can also use the Edict Player app to control the UA3, so it gives you access to like some gain controls and some filters and other functions and a bunch of other options. Not only do you have volume control buttons, but you also can control playback with this center button. Also, this is very efficient, so you don't have excessive battery drain with your phone. This actually was probably the most efficient of all these devices, of course, with the exception of the UA5, because it has a built-in battery. But of the other devices that don't have a built-in battery, this was I noticed the least amount of battery drain with this device. As far as cons, there aren't many. Again, because all the positive, again, for the price, it's really hard to find anything wrong with this at all. If I had to nitpick, I would say it's probably, as far as sound, it's not the most resolving or detailed of the bunch. But again, that's a nitpick. Now, also I want to add to the pros is this has a power output of 211 milliwatts at 32 ohms. So that's easily enough power to power most full-size headphones. It works perfectly fine powering my 300 ohm SV023s and also my LCDX 2021s. So that kind of segues into the versatility. So obviously that's enough power to power both IEMs and headphones. So if you do have both, again, will work with both. It also works great with either a phone or a laptop, so it can be used at home or on the go. I also want to mention it does come with a very nice leather case also. Okay, let's move on to the Muse Hi-Fi M3. Now, the Muse Hi-Fi M3 is the newest device on the table, comes in at $149. As far as pros, the sound is very good. It has a very neutral presentation, so it doesn't lean warm or cold, much like the Moondrop 2. So it's going to allow your IEMs or headphones to maintain their sound signature. It uses the ESS flagship DAC, which is the ESS9038Q2M. That's the same DAC chip that the UA5 uses, and it uses that in combination with the ESS9603Q amplifier. Has plenty of power, will drive almost any full-size headphone and pretty much every IEM that I have, this thing will drive. It also offers a true line-out feature to serve as an aux out to feed external amplifiers. The battery drain is also minimal, so this actually does pretty good with portable devices. I didn't notice a whole lot of battery drain. And again, at $149, this is a little more competitively priced. It comes in just under the Hibi FC5. As far as cons, like the UA5, some might find this a little big and heavy, although it doesn't bother me, but that's about it as far as cons. Now, as far as whether or not this device will work for you, this is a very versatile device, so it will work fine with either a phone or with a PC. Again, it's very efficient, so not a lot of battery drain. It has plenty of power to power any IEM, and again, most full-size headphones. It has no problem pushing my LCDX 2021s or my 300 ohm Sivga SV023s. So overall, I would say the M3 is a very versatile device. Okay, let's move on to the S9 Pro. Now, the Heidi S9 Pro comes in at $119 and is the second least expensive device on the table. Again, the UA3 is a little less expensive at $109. Now, just really quick, I want to say that this is one of the cons that I talked about with UA3 is that it wasn't the most resolving or most detailed. It still has really good detail and good resolve. I only say that because this actually out-resolves it and has better detail retrieval. This also does have a neutral sound signature, so it doesn't have any coloration. It's not going to lean warm. It's not going to lean cold. So the sound on this device is quite good. It supports up to 32-bit and also supports DSD 512, so that's pretty cool. It has a decent amount of power with 200 milliwatts out of the 2.5, although I wish it was a 4.4. Now, as far as cons, I do have a few, but again, it's only $119. Firstly, it doesn't have a volume control, so it's a little hard for me to dial my volume in when I'm using music streaming apps. Now, for my music library that's stored on my phone, I can use UAPP, and I can actually set a customized volume level. So I can actually, if I want to change it to 60 or 100, I can do that through UAPP. So that does help a little. Now, I also wish they would have used a 4.4 instead of a 2.5. 4.4 just feels a little more substantial. And also, you're kind of starting to see the 2.5 being phased out slowly. It seems like most devices, all the other devices on here have a 4.4 option. Maybe they chose the 2.5 because it takes up less space. I don't know. But again, it's just a preference thing. I wish they would have used 4.4 instead of a 2.5. I did also notice that this one, of all the devices on the table, this one is the least power efficient. I noticed the most power drain from my battery with this device. Of all these devices, this one actually drained my phone the most. I did also notice it gets a little bit warm. Now, as for usability and whether or not this device will work for you, this is a very versatile device like the Muse M3 and the Moondrop 2, but the S9 Pro is a lot less expensive than either of those. Again, it has 200 milliwatts of power out of the 2.5 output, so that's enough power to power most full-size headphones. Again, it'll power my SV023s pretty good, and any IEM. It'll work well on the go if you want to use it as a portable device. It's small, it's light, fit in your pocket, works great with your phone, and again, you can also use it at home with your laptop. So it's a very versatile device, and again, it's as far as the price, you just can't beat it. Okay, and now that we've gone over all of the main features, specifications, and the price of each one of these USB devices, I want to not rank them because that would just take too long, but I do want to do a couple of things. I want to give one, the title Best Bang for Your Buck, so that's basically the most features, best performance, build quality for its price, and then I also want to pick my top 3 as far as best overall performance. So if I just had to choose 3 to take with me, I'm going to do that. Then I'm also, from those 3, I'm going to choose my favorite of all of these. And again, I'm going to throw in a wild card. But first, I'm going to tell you which one I think gives you the best overall performance and features for its cost. I'm going to give that title of Best Bang for Your Buck to the Shanling UA3. And let's just kind of go back over and recap all that you get for that $109. Again, I'm not just giving it the title because it's the cheapest, because the performance is actually really good on this device. It's got 211 milliwatts of power output of the 4.4, which is plenty of power to power both of my headphones and probably most any full-size headphone out there. Of course, obviously, there are some harder to drive headphones that this may struggle with. It has the new AKM DAC chip. It has the same amp chip as the UA5. It has the controls. So you can control volume and playback on the actual device. Plus, you can control it with the Edict player. The build quality is excellent. It's very pocketable. It's small, very transportable. It's got the rounded edges, so it doesn't irritate me in my pocket at all. So I think that of all of these devices, that the Shanling UA3 is going to give you the best bang for your buck. Okay, so now I want to pick my top 3, and this is going to be based on performance and features only. I'm not going to be taking cost into consideration, and then we're going to pick the top 1 and assign that one just the best overall of all of these USB DACs. But before we do that, I want to go ahead and introduce the wild card. Now, it was not easy for me to choose this wild card. I had lots of options, but I just felt like this one really deserved a spot among these other DACs. And that wild card is the new FiiO BTR7. So before we get into this next segment, I just quickly want to go over what this has to offer. This, again, is $219. So while it's not the least expensive on the table, it's not the most expensive either. The UA5 is $235. So it falls within my budget parameters. As far as features, this has the dual THX AAA amplifiers, which gives you 320 milliwatts of power output at 32 ohms, which I believe is actually the most on the table. And it powers my 300 ohm SVO23s easily with no problem at all. So the power output on this is pretty substantial. Now, it also has an 880 milliamp battery with wireless charging. So that's a pretty big battery. It also has a larger screen than the UA5, and it comes with a nice case. It also can be controlled with the FiiO control app. So, and again, you have the buttons on the side here for control. You've got all the playback options, volume, and also on top of all that, it offers Bluetooth. So as far as cons, the only cons really are, this is kind of big and it does have kind of sharp corners, but honestly, it doesn't really bother me in my pocket that much unless I have it in my pocket for a long time and if I have a lot of stuff in my pocket. It doesn't do like the highest bitrate sample, so it does do 32-bit, and it supports DSD 256, not 512, but that's still plenty. It's hard for me to even tell the difference between the two. So bottom line though, is this has a lot of really good features and specifications for the $219 price. Now let's start with my third favorite DAC on the table. I'm gonna give third place to the Moondrop 2. And while I do feel like it's a very close third, I still feel like there is one DAC that, for me personally, just meets my needs a little more, and just overall, I feel like it deserves that second place spot. But I think that the Moondrop 2 has lots of great features, and again, the specifications on this thing are pretty incredible for the price. Lots of power output. It's built really well. You can control it with the Moondrop Link app, and it's very pocketable, it's light, and again, it's just built really well. So we're gonna give third place to the Moondrop 2, and I'm going to give second place to the Shanling UA5. I just think that even though it is $235, again, I'm not taking the cost into consideration. I'm looking at this based on performance and features only. And while this may not have the most power output, it does have plenty of power output. It's enough to push all of my IEMs and headphones. And as far as the features, I just think that it gives you a lot of options. You can control playback and volume with this cool little volume wheel here. You've got both the 4.4 and 3.5 output. The screen, it has the battery with hybrid mode. The build quality is excellent. It's pocketable. While it is a little on the large side, that has never bothered me at all with this. I've taken this on plenty of walks and had it in my pocket for long periods of time and really honestly never even noticed it. So I think that the UA5 is just an overall very, very solid device. And I think that while again, it was a close third with the Moon River 2, I just feel like the Shanling UA5 just edges it out just slightly. Okay, so now it's time to pick my favorite device. And again, so this is based on my needs, my preferences, my use, and basically, in my opinion, the one that I feel offers the best performance, best features overall. Not taking cost into consideration, even though I do feel like this one is priced fairly. That spot is going to go to the FIO BTR7. This thing is a beast of a device, has very good specification, lots of power output, lots of great features, again, including Bluetooth, everything these have to offer, plus more. The build quality is excellent, and again, it's just a solid device overall for the $219 price. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I went a little longer than I had hoped, but it was a lot of information. Sorry, Timmy. I tried to keep this short, but that was, again, it was just kind of hard. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like this video. Please share this video. Please subscribe to the Giz Audio channel. I hope you guys have an awesome day.